The next Tuesday, voters head back to the polls again. It is the latest in a stretch of elections that since January alone has cost taxpayers millions of dollars.
So your property taxes pay for every single one of those trips to the polls. So tonight, Rolwan Balogan asks, is there a smarter way to do this? And also, could a change to how we vote actually save you money?
When it comes to costs for the third largest county in the nation, the largest county in the state of Texas, elections are very expensive.
And in January, we spent $1.6 million for that one race for one seat.
And so far this year, before you even count May's runoffs, Harris County has spent nearly $5 million on elections. That's money from you, your property taxes, and local tax dollars every time you're asked to go back to the polls.
Texas is a conservative state, and part of conservatism is an effective use of taxpayer dollars.
Do you think if there is a change, this could save taxpayer dollars?
It will indeed save taxpayers dollars. I don't know that taxpayers realize that they pay for elections.
Houston, we've had a lot of elections. November, the general and special election. December, a joint runoff election. January, a special runoff election. March, the Democratic and Republican primaries. April, a special election to fill a city council vacancy. May, a second special election to fill a vacancy. The 16th, a runoff for the city council vacancy. And the 26th primary.
Absolutely, taxpayers are paying. Whether it is the Secretary of State, counties, cities, they're all tax collecting organizations, and we're paying for it.
Since January's special election runoff, you, Harris County taxpayers, have shelled out the $4.7 million bill for these elections. And this doesn't even account for the May runoff elections. Let's look back. In 2024, it cost Harris County $15.6 million to hold primary runoffs and election day. So where does all of that money go? To get the answer, we went to the head of Harris County elections, Clerk Tanisha Hudspeth.
Just so everyone knows, the work that goes on before equipment reaches a vote center, election workers are trained and they are paid. We have to evaluate all that equipment before it goes into the field.
Hudspeth says the biggest costs are staffing elections, training workers, testing equipment, and paying for the hundreds of polling sites all over Harris County.
The county clerk's office, we don't have this, the authority to say, hey, you have to be a polling location and you have to make your facility free. So facilities cost.
The question, can Harris County reduce repeat elections and your bill without changing who gets a voice?
It's time for us to do something proactive, not just for Harris County, but for our counties across the state of Texas.
There are groups looking at ways to be fiscally responsible with your tax dollars by slowly changing our entire voting system.
Mary Beth Gilbert, instant runoff voting for Texas. So what instant runoff voting does is it captures the most voters when the most people show up the first time. They're allowed to rank their preferences, a first choice, a second choice, third choice.
You may know it better as ranked choice voting. It's already used in places like New York City and Alaska. So instead of picking just one candidate, voters rank their choices. If nobody gets a majority, the lowest candidate is eliminated and those votes shift to the voter's next choice. Now, supporters say it could reduce the need for costly runoff elections. But conservatives say they don't want it. In 2023, the state Republican Party issued a resolution against this type of voting, saying, quote, ranked choice voting schemes open elections to ballot exhaustion or the disenfranchisement of voters who choose not to support multiple candidates who do not clearly represent their values. Adding the party wants to keep voting simple.
I think there is some distrust of instant runoff voting because of how it's been used in other states. And as I said before, Texas is unique. Every state is unique.
Have you ever looked at the idea of ranked voting? Is that an obvious
ranked choice voting?
Ranked choice. Obviously, that's something the legislature would have to pass.
Absolutely.
Before anyone can even really make it feasible. But is that anything you all have considered, talked about?
And can Harris County and a state like Texas benefit from ranked choice voting? Absolutely. But this is really something that the Texas legislature would have to say, we want to really dive into this.
For now, any changes would have to come from the Texas legislature. But With election costs rising and voters being called back to the polls again and again, county leaders say something needs to change.
So the state law or the code now says, no other elections can take place during a primary election. And so there is a way to streamline. When we have elected officials that vacate seats and cause a vacancy and there has to be a special election, it would be really great for those races or those elections to take place on the next uniform date rather than prescribing its own election date. And that's why we're seeing 8 elections within less than a 6-month period.
If lawmakers change the rules, it could mean fewer election days, fewer trips to the polls, and millions left in taxpayer pockets.